Before starting today's video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video to encourage us to provide the best. In 2003, when I was a 16-year-old girl, I encountered a charming guy on a forum. His username alluded to an Incubus lyric that resonated with me, and we struck up a conversation. Being inexperienced at that age, we continued our communication on MSN. Regrettably, I erred by misrepresenting my age and informed him that I was 18, despite being 2 years younger. Meanwhile, he was in his 20s. After a few months of talking on the phone, I thought he was an awesome guy, and he lived only 2 hours away. So I gave him my address, and we went on our first date. It was an awkward outing at a bowling alley with soda. I could tell he was interested, but struggled to communicate without the help of a computer. After our phone conversation continued, he expressed some frustration about his first date jitters. I thought attending my school's Battle of the Bands would provide a more social setting to talk, so I suggested we go together. He showed up at my doorstep with a wooden box containing expensive gifts, including an Incubus sweatshirt, a birthstone ring, small origami hearts, and flowers. I was flattered but taken aback by the extravagance of it all, especially for a second date. During the concert, my boyfriend started talking to some of my friends while I went to watch a band I was interested in seeing. When they finished, I returned to our table only to find that he had disappeared. I searched for him and discovered that he had given my friend a ride home without informing me, and had no plans of coming back for me. I had to find a ride home with my neighbors, leaving me upset and disillusioned with the relationship. I ended things over the phone, but my boyfriend continued to send me emails, letters, gifts, and flowers over the next few days. He even sent me CDs of him singing and lockets of his hair. I should have told my parents about the situation, but I was afraid of getting into trouble for lying about my age and meeting someone from the internet. I tried to ignore his advances, occasionally asking him to stop. However, my sister found out about him and encouraged him, even inviting him over to work things out between us. I explained everything to her, and we contacted our parents, who promptly intervened. When my boyfriend arrived at our house, my father went outside to confront him. He laughed and left, but I did not hear from him for about a week. Then my sister showed me a video that my ex-boyfriend had sent her. In it, he had carved my name into his chest and declared it his final goodbye. I was extremely frightened and concerned for his well-being. Years later, I found him on Facebook and discovered that he still had a scar with my name carved into his chest. A few weeks ago, something noteworthy occurred. As many of you may be aware, Facebook recently introduced a dating feature. I connected with a seemingly easygoing guy who was a bit older than me. His profile indicated that he was 27, whereas I had just turned 23. However, I didn't think a 4-year age gap was significant. After conversing for a day or two, we agreed to meet up for a drink and see if we clicked in person. Upon meeting face to face, I couldn't help but notice that he appeared older than 27. He had a substantial amount of gray in his facial hair, but I reasoned that perhaps his hair turned gray early in life. We conversed and had a few drinks, but I couldn't help but feel uneasy since he kept staring at me and showering me with compliments. Although I was flattered, his behavior made me uncomfortable due to my awkwardness and average appearance. As I had to be up early for work the next day at 4:30 a.m., I decided to leave after a brief period. He accompanied me to my car, and during our conversation, I noticed that he had a 1970 Camaro, which piqued my interest. He then proposed taking me for a drive in his car at 10 p.m. However, I declined his offer since it was late, and I had only known him for less than 2 hours. It seemed imprudent to get into a car with a stranger and go for a drive at night. I am fond of watching documentaries on serial killers and reading creepy stories like Let's Not Meet tales. Thus, I am aware of the dangers that could arise if I were to travel in a car with an unfamiliar man. Despite his persistent pleas, I remained adamant and declined his offer. I left the bar and began my 45-minute drive home. Upon arriving home, I was greeted with a barrage of text messages from my date. In total, he sent me around 15 texts expressing how much he already missed me, his desire to build a future with me, and how he had never fallen for anyone so quickly in his 38 years of life. He continued to send further compliments, causing my stomach to drop. This was when I discovered that he was, in fact, 38 years old, which contradicted what he had told me at the bar and what his profile had stated. I responded to him, questioning whether the age difference bothered him. It certainly bothered me. However, he replied that it didn't bother him, and he preferred to date younger women around my age. I didn't reply and went to bed. The next morning, I was greeted with multiple texts and 5 missed calls and voicemails from him. I must admit that I ghosted him and blocked him on every form of social media I had, as well as his phone number. This may seem harsh, but he creeped me out. Although he was incredibly charming, he was way too pushy and gave off some Ted Bundy vibes. I have Facebook to thank for introducing me to the creepiest person I have ever gone on a date with. I had some acquaintance with a guy named Mike who worked with my friend at a local music store. He appeared to be cool and was quite attractive. The first time we met was at an ICP concert, which we all attended. After catching my phone number through my friend, Mike called me, and we went out on a date. As the night went on, he suggested that we hang out and chat at a local park, since we were in a busy and loud bar with a band playing. I was 19 and not very wise back then, so I agreed to it. It was still daylight outside, so I didn't think anything of it. As we were talking, he suddenly leaned in and kissed me. I looked around and realized that it had gotten dark outside. At that point, I was ecstatic because he hadn't given me any indication that he was creepy. We had a fantastic time, and he was witty and humorous. However, after our first kiss, he gave me a creepy grin and stared out the car window. He then said to me, "I'm taking you into those woods, and we're going to have a really good time." I chuckled nervously because I hadn't lost my virginity at the time, and I told him that I would rather stay in the car. He became weird and furious, and it was like he was 2 different people. He asked, "Why can't we just go into the woods? I promise I won't kill you." By now, he was attempting to laugh it off, but I was completely creeped out. I attempted to play it cool, but I should have been more creeped out than I was. It makes me uneasy to write this. He looks at me once more, then leans back in his seat and begins to fake whine. "Oh, come on. Let me just take you into the woods. It'll be fun." I am having none of it and start getting angry, telling him I am ready to go home. After much persuasion, he finally agrees to take me home. He is oddly quiet for the rest of the drive, and when he drops me off at my house, he apologizes profusely. Later, I heard from my friend Mark that he said I was a tease. When I told my friend what had happened, he stopped talking to Mike and said he had heard that he could be kind of a sex maniac, even borderline psycho. To the guy I went on a creepy first date with, let's never, ever meet again. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Leave a like and drop a comment too. If you have anything you want to share, like a story, you can email me, and maybe I'll read it in a future video. Thank you all so much for your support.